Hey, welcome back. Alright, necrit, since you're taking forever to actually break down spirit blossoms, let's watch something new.
First thing we see being his dreams. This is all seen.
Oops. Okay.
Well, there is a new lore comic, and
Yeah, cool. Also, I freaking love this image. That's why I made it the banter. It's so beautiful.
it is fully voiced.
I have returned.
Ah, hell
So
yeah.
that's where the gacha budget went. Okay, jokes aside, it is incredible to see how League is constantly upgrading its storytelling. It started with a chain of cinematics, then they sprinkled in a few comics, then they put in some minigames that are tied to the stories too, and now they are adding in more
I will keep playing the game, by the way. I'm playing the Ruin King. I love it. I'm gonna keep playing. I just need more time. Please be patient. I will keep playing.
comics, but now they are voiced. Which is incredible to see in the middle of all the voice acting strikes. And the best part of this is, it continues
Fuck Paimon, voice actors. I just wanna say.
the previous cinematics. And so because it is so heavily tied to what we've seen before, there is a lot of explaining that should be done. And so let's dive into the new
Let's
comic that is
go.
focusing on the Spirit Blossom season,
Let's
and
go.
mainly Zhao. It all begins with him waking up in his bed, shirtless, something
Nice.
very iconic for Ionians, with the first thing we see being his dreams. This is all scenes from his bio. First, there is an image of an Ionian boat being captured by Noxians. All of this happened when Zhao was young. The story is that Zhao was working on a fishing boat before it got captured by Noxians, all of which happened right before the Noxian invasion started. The second image then shows us the ambush itself, with the third image showing us Zhao as a reckoner in the Noxian reckoning arenas. Essentially, after he got captured by Noxians, his new master told him that he could make some more money should he decide to fight in the reckoning pits. And since he had nothing to lose,
Yeah.
that's what Zhao did. And
Good setup. Good setup.
there, in the reckoning pits, he became known as Viscero, a legendary reckoner. After which we get one more image which shows us a scene from the story What Once Sailed Free. Essentially, after Noxus decided to conquer all the surrounding nations,
Yep.
the moment it came to the skirmishes around Demacia, during the times when Borem Darkwill was still the leader of Noxus, he
Okay.
paid a lot of money to buy out mercenaries and reckoners and put them into a special war host. And so, Zhao was bought out and he was sent into the Demacian front lines. There, being essentially sent to his own death, the Demacians defeated the entire war host, which is where Zhao got captured by the Dauntless Vanguard and he got to talk to Jarvan III. He was surprised to see that unlike the Noxians, King Jarvan actually offered them all freedom should they leave Demacia in peace. And so, with it being a long way back to Noxus or Ionia, Zhao simply pledged himself to the service of the king. Now, just like what you can see here in the comic, in the
Okay.
story there was Diana Crownguard in the background who stayed skeptical of Zhao. And yes, technically in the comic there should also be young Jarvan IV. But unfortunately we can't see him here. More importantly, the comic shows us that Zhao has his spear, which did not happen in the story. In fact, in the story, there is a scene where Zhao disarms one of the royal guards, and he takes their Demacian spear to prove that he could have killed Jarvan at any point. This is what convinced
Badass.
Jarvan III that Zhao could be a really good guard. Of course, Diana Crownguard still stayed skeptical of him, and so Zhao made a really interesting promise. He said that should anything happen to Jarvan III, he would take his own life. With the interesting thing being that Jarvan III died during Silas's rebellion in Demacia. He
Oh shit, was it by Katarina? What?
was killed by Katarina.
Oh, fuck. Why is she here? Why is she here killing him?
So technically, Zhao, that's partially why he's so depressed now, but
Oh.
that's also what the aftermath story is about. Anyway, in the comic, this entire scene has a big theme. It is where do I belong, which is the key to Zin's story. He started as an Ionian, he got captured by Noxus, and then he ended up in Demacia. So he doesn't really have a true home. And so next, he got woken up by his sergeant, and
Okay,
he got
good
called
theme.
Lord Seneschal. Yes, that is indeed his Demacian title. But more importantly, here in the
Cool.
background we can see his Demacian armor, but in the front there is the blossom. It is a little tree that he sprouted from a seed. And why is it so important? Well, that is in fact because it is related to LeBlanc's story, which we did
Oh.
cover on this channel before. It is the latest story, which is
Oh.
where we learned that LeBlanc has clones all over the world,
Yes.
where all the clones believe that they are the real LeBlanc.
Yeah, we saw that.
And there, one of the clones was spying on Zhao in Demacia. He was in the royal gardens where he picked up a seed before he left to do his duties. So it is there where the seed came from. And there are quite a few twists around this event happening later.
Alright. I remember that. So I'm picking up. Dang. That animation was so freaking good. Also, I'm getting cat food advertising. I don't have a cat, by the way. That's hilarious. Fuck. I need to watch the animation for a there's a new music video I haven't seen. I need to watch that one too. Sorry about the ads. Okay.
Story, we did cover it before. So next we see that Zhao, with his own small Demacian squad, arrived in Ionia. Of course, he wouldn't be traveling alone because he is the royal guard. And he mentions that he arrived here more than 30 years after he was taken away. And they arrived in the province of Navori, which is pretty much the mainland of Ionia. And he arrived here just in time for the Spirit Blossom Festival, which is a celebration that keeps going as long as the Spirit Blossoms continue to bloom. And it is a special time in which spirits enter these
Oh, I think that's the one from the animation.
blooms, which allows the living to commune with those who had passed away. But also, during these celebrations, Ionian tells stories of their mythical spirits. We know them as the Spirit Blossom skins, which are not actually versions of the champions, they are just made-up spirits that happen to look like champions, so they can be sold like skins. And here we got new examples of these mythical spirits. There is someone telling the story of the Pearl Maiden, which is the new Lux skin, but we can see that she is here with someone else. Now at first, I did think the other person was holding a glaive, because you know, the reason why we are in Ionia is because LeBlanc is looking for the darkened glaive here, but upon second look, I am pretty sure that's gonna be Hui, because you can even see the swirly behind his head. And so Hui is definitely getting a Spirit Blossom skin. Anyway,
Nice.
next Xin meets two Ionians who are interested in his tree. They noticed that the blossom was quite unusual, and so one of them guessed that it could be from Quailin, with Quailin being one of the Ionian islands in the east. And so the other one guessed that it could be Sudaro, with Sudaro being the southernmost island of Ionia. But Xin told them both that indeed the tree
Oh, that's very. I thought it was just Asia, but it's very Japan inspired with the way they have islands and the shape.
comes from Demacia, which should be impossible. The spirit trees only grow in Ionia, which is what made Zhao travel all the way here. But that is where we also get a really cool teaser. He mentioned that as they sailed east, they heard whispers of magic rising everywhere. This seems to be a direct reference to the Arcane, which is a force that was first revealed in Arcane.
Yeah, I was gonna say that thing at here. That looks like Victor. That looks like the other universe Victor.
The Arcane, which is a force that was first revealed in Arcane. And now it seems like the show set up some consequences which might pop up in future lore. Specifically, the Calamity, which Victor was tampering with, might have started something. And Zhao is teasing that there might be changes happening in the spirit magic. But that's where Kennen drops in. And he calls him Zhao of Rykon, with Rykon being a smaller fishing village in the south of Zayun. And so the two take a stroll and they talk about Zin's past. He doesn't feel like Ionia is his home anymore, and Kennen confirms that could be because the Noxian invasion has done a lot of damage to Ionia. In fact, since the invasion began, no blossoms bloomed since. And it was only after the invaders left Ionia that the entire Ionia started blooming together. And that's where another massive teaser drops in, and this one might be related to the Darkin, because the two arrive at the shrine of the Maiden. Here Zin confirmed that he often thought of her tale. The Maiden is someone who followed her patron into exile, although she had never done anything wrong. From Zin's perspective, this could be him talking about his pledging to Jarvan, by which he technically exiled himself from Noxus and Ionia. And at first, I thought that this tale could be linked to the new Spirit Blossom Irelia and Ashe, where Irelia was confirmed to be following Ashe. But then I realized that this is indeed Yunara. Or more specifically, this is the spirit that Yunara will get a skin for. Which means that this has to be a completely new story. What's even more interesting is that this is where Zhao talked about the War of the False Kanmei. Now, the Kanmei, simply put, are the good demons of Ionia. You have the Akana, who are the bad demons, and then you have the Kanmei, who are the good guys. Meaning that the War of the False Kanmei would be the war of someone who falsely convinced others that they are the good guys. And you know who did exactly that? The Darkin. They are the ones who had entire war hosts of people who worship them. Meaning that the War of the False Kanmei could be an Ionian term for the Darkin Wars. Which is how this entire comic starts to get connected to the Darkin Glaive. But the twists are not over just yet. Next, in the scene where we see kids cosplaying as the Spirit Blossom Bard and Ashe, Kennen asks Zhao if he's here because of the tree. And he confirms that, indeed, he couldn't believe that this could bloom from a Demacian birch. This never happened before, which is why Kennen wonders if the Spirit Blossoms come from the Ionian trees or the Ionian people. And so Zin told Kennen that he wanted to place the tree here so it could be back home. And Kennen teased that this could be done for Zin too. With that, the two travel to the Kinko Temple at Koshin, which is a place that previously appeared in the Z comic. Here it is mentioned that the Order was ousted from Tanjul during the war, and now they wanted to rebuild the Order in the ruins.
If you don't know where to start,
God fucking damn it. Alright, I'm very into it. I'm very into his story. I mentioned another comic. I don't know the other comic, but if he's done a breakdown, I'll look into it.
Of this is a reference to the fact that Tanjul used to be led by Master Kusho. But then in the Z comic, the Shadow Order ran through it. Well, now it seems like they all abandoned it, and so now the Kinko are trying to take it over. And it is here that Zhao felt some kind of connection. I mean, that would make sense. Since this place belonged to the Kinko, some kind of spirit bond would be highly likely. In fact, that is something that was teased in the cinematic before, with Zin having a connection with Yunara. In fact, that's exactly where the comic ends, with the exact same scene we saw in the cinematic.
I love Ionia so much. It's so incredibly beautiful. And purple is my favorite color, so I just love every time we're in Ionia. It's so incredibly beautiful.
With Zhao being back in his homeland, though here he planted down the tree. And that's where we have to talk about the one last twist. You see, since the entire comic had some very subtle hints towards the Darkin, with LeBlanc also currently looking for a Darkin glaive in Ionia, it seems like she might have planted down another big plan. You see, some people already started theorizing about this, with the current theory being that LeBlanc is the one who bloomed the tree in Demacia, so that she could make Zhao go into Demacia, where she could use him as the new host for the Darkin weapon. And looking at the comic, I have to agree that seems to be likely. In fact, there is
Alright, so new Darkin skin incoming, probably.
more that could be theorized here. You see, since it was confirmed that the Spirit Blossoms don't bloom outside of Ionia, what if LeBlanc actually took the seed from Ionia? We know that this could be possible because in her story, we read about one of the clones leaving Ionia right before Phalor was taken over. And so, what if she brought it to Zhao? And what if she made him believe that he was taking care of a Demacian tree, all the while it was an Ionian seed the entire time? By doing this, LeBlanc would force Zhao into going into Ionia, where, being known for having the skills with a spear, he could make for a perfect candidate for the Darkin Glaive. Well, that is the current theory people have on the internet, and we'll see if that becomes true in the future. So now, just sit back, relax, and wonder if Zhao is gonna get a Darkin skin. And if so, what's gonna be the likelihood that it's gonna be a gacha?
Very high, I'm guessing. Extremely high. Alright, that was nice. But he said the comic was fully voiced and then he didn't show any clips of the of the voice comic, so I might check out the comics. I don't know. I believe that dark skin. Yeah, it's a whole setup for the darkened skin. That's all. Shin, so I don't get the joke to be honest. um. Okay, I was just going to brush over the fact that we have a Kim face reveal and he has a mustache. Oh, the Yoro. Okay. Yeah, Yoro look badass as fuck. All Yoros I've seen look like happy go lucky. He looked badass. Um, Dark Weapon Shell sounds really cool, I'm gonna lie. Yeah. Alright, so God damn it, I mean uh alright. Sorry I haven't been doing that much League of Legends stuff lately. Um yeah, we're gonna get back into it, don't worry.